After witnessing the elimination of his best friend, a skilled ninja decides to betray his clan and teams up with an investigator to get his revenge. Today we'll recap the story of the 2009 movie Ninja Assassin. Hidden away in his mansion, the leader of a powerful gang is getting some tattoos done on his body when one of his men shows up with a letter in his hands. He informs them that the envelope has been sent to Zhukov and, after opening it, discovers that there is nothing but a handful of black sand inside. At that moment, the tattoo artist goes into shock and informs him that, many years ago, he saw a guy open an envelope just like that one. He was accompanied by several henchmen, but when the ninja emerged from the shadows, not a single man was left standing. That night, the old man was also hit in the chest, and the reason he was not eliminated is that, due to a congenital problem, his heart is on the right side of his body. After hearing the tattoo artist's words, everyone starts laughing and mocking him. Suddenly, a blade cuts the head of one of those men in half and the lights go out. Then the attacks begin and the gang members have their bodies destroyed. They try to defend themselves using firearms, but end up being brutally eliminated. Zhukov is the last one standing and offers the ninjas a lot of money to leave him alone. However, he still suffers a painful elimination. Finally, the old man comes face to face with the ninja, and this time he cannot escape. In the city of Berlin, there is a Europol headquarters where Mika and Ryan work to investigate different clans spreading terror in the East. Mika believes that in countries like China and Japan there are clans that steal children to turn them into ninjas, but none of her colleagues believe her theory. A few kilometers away, in a laundromat, Rizzo has just put his clothes in the machine when a beautiful young woman approaches and asks for his help to fold a sheet. While helping the stranger, the young man asks which clan she belongs to and the woman attacks him. The two ninjas then start a duel and the laundry manager ends up waking up with the noise. When he enters the room to check what is going on, he finds a disturbing scene. Over lunch, Ryan invites Mika for a chat and says he has done some research to help her with her investigation. After giving the woman all the information he collected, he says he still doesn't believe in the existence of these clans, but he did all that because he has a crush on his partner. When she arrives home, Rizzo discovers that his landlady has entered his apartment to fix a heating problem. Then, the ninja goes to check if his weapons remain hidden where he left them and remembers his childhood. The young man grew up as a member of the Ozunu clan along with dozens of other children. One of the first lessons he learned from Lord Ozuno was to be the master of his own body to eliminate its weaknesses and heal its wounds. Even now, several years after abandoning his clan, Rizzo continues his intense training routine and suspends his body over a bed of sharp nails. Ever since childhood, he was taught to walk stealthily so that his presence would not be detected by his enemies. However, every time his footsteps were detected, the young man suffered severe punishment and his feet were whipped until they bled. Seeing her friend suffering, Kiriko tries to help him and applies ointment to his wounds even though she knows that this is against the rules. Although several years have passed, Rizzo still bears the marks of the punishments he suffered and stares at a broken gold watch so as not to forget his current mission. After following the clues found by Ryan, Mika arrives at Mrs. Sabatin's house and tells her that she has read her husband's report. 2 years ago, after reporting on the terror suffered by Zhukov and his gang, Alexei hired several men to reinforce the security of his home. As well as changing the locks on doors and windows, he put cameras, motion sensors and lights everywhere in the garden to avoid shadows. One day, an unknown man knocked on the door and talked to Alexei in his office. After the young man left, the woman went to talk to her husband and saw him frightened. Ms. Sabatin recounts that he got up and, after kissing her, said that he loved her very much. That night, all the lights in the house went out and Alexei was eliminated in the darkness. In an attempt to help Mika find the culprit, the widow gives her a box where her late husband had gathered all the evidence he had collected about that case. While watching the tape recording, the investigator spots Rizzo and wonders if he was responsible for Alexei's elimination. Alone in his house, the young ninja trains hard every day, just as he did when he lived with his master. The difference is that, back then, he was forced to duel against his brothers. Ever since he was little, Rizzo had always been the better warrior, which made Takeshi envious, as he was only able to beat him if he used some kind of trickery. Once, after losing a duel, the young man was punished by his master, who struck him in the abdomen, making him squirm in pain. Seeing her friend suffering, Kiriko must hold back her tears, for no show of weakness is tolerated in the Ozunu clan. While Raizo suffers on the floor, all his classmates leave the training room and leave him alone so he can be tested. If he survives that night, the young man will pass. The next morning, Lord Ozunu goes to check if his apprentice is still alive and is proud to find him meditating, completely healed. In her office, while continuing her investigation, Mika receives a visit from Agent Zabransky. The man has come after her to ask some questions about her partner and wonders if Ryan has been acting strange lately. Mika then claims that she hasn't noticed anything wrong, at which point she realizes that she and her partner are being monitored. So, the investigator goes to talk to Ryan about what happened, and he begins to suspect that this story of the ninjas is true, since the pair became a target after she started investigating them. When she gets home, Mika continues reading the documents left by Alexei and becomes obsessed with the study of the 9 clans. As usual, when he arrives at his apartment at the end of the day, Raizo practices his skills, but this time he is blindfolded. During his teenage years, he spent a whole year without being able to see in order to train his other senses. Over time, Raizo became able to see even while blindfolded and became so skilled that he was able to block all of Takeshi's blows, as well as knock him down. Unlike him, Kiriko did not like to fight. Despite being extremely skilled, the young woman took no pleasure in subduing her opponents. Once, after winning a duel, she refused to cut her opponent's skin. So Ozunu punished her with a wound to the face. For several days, Kiriko was locked outside the house without food and water as punishment for refusing to comply with an order from her master. Worried about his friend, every night Raizo sneaked out of his room to visit her. Sometime later, when she was released, the girl decided to run away in the middle of the night and Raizo went after her. He knew that if Kiriko was caught, she would be eliminated, so he tries to convince her to stay. However, after kissing him, the young woman invites him to run away with her and build a real life, but Raizo decides to abandon her for fear of taking a risk. Saddened, he watches his only friend climb a wall of rocks and go on her way. The young man is at his home when he gets a call and hits the streets on his way to Mika's address. In the parking lot of Europol headquarters, the investigator is surprised by the sudden arrival of her partner and Ryan informs her that her office is being searched by the CIA. Now that he knows Mika was right about the ninjas, the man asks her to go home and pack her bags for a vacation. Before saying goodbye, Ryan hands her a pistol so that her friend can defend herself against a possible attack. Minutes later, when she arrives at her street, Mika finds that her entire neighborhood is without light and uses a flashlight to get into her apartment. While packing her bags, she finds an envelope filled with sand and suddenly a ninja appears to attack her. However, before it hits the woman, its blade is blocked by a chain that is being handled by another ninja. The two warriors then begin to duel each other while Mika tries to keep up with the fight. However, their movements are so fast that she can barely see them. At the end of the battle, the ninja who attacked her is eliminated and Raizo emerges from the shadows. He claims that new enemies are approaching and assures her that he is there to help her. The young man reveals that he belonged to the clan of that ninja he just eliminated, but he doesn't have time to explain why they were rivals, as new enemies approach that building. The night Kiriko ran away, she was caught before she could even make it through the forest and taken back to the camp. The next morning, Lord Ozunu states that there is only one punishment for the betrayal committed by the young woman and allows Takeshi, the young man who captured the runaway, to eliminate her with a blow to the heart. Now that she is safe in her car several kilometers away from home, Mika asks Raizo why he went to save her and the ninja remembers the first time he was sent to eliminate someone. His target was a gang leader and he was wearing a gold watch, which the young man was supposed to hand over to his master. When he enters the bathroom to find him, Raizo lands a blow on his neck and the man attacks him. Despite the injury, the thug manages to fight back and grabs the young man, who continues to stab him several times with his small blade. While several liters of blood flow all over his body, the victim tries to continue the fight, but begins to lose consciousness and Raizo manages to finish his mission. After eliminating his target, he takes the gold watch, but when he goes to hand it over to his master, Lord Ozunu asks him to keep the object so he will never forget that day. Before returning home, Raizo would have to perform one more task and eliminate one of the members of his clan who tried to escape. Seeing the girl kneeling in front of him, the young man remembers Kiriko and his body is overwhelmed by a huge fury. Then, instead of following his master's orders, Raizo attacks him and Lord Ozuno orders the other young men to eliminate the traitor. Despite having to face numerous opponents at once, the skillful ninja manages to defeat them. However, he ends up being seriously injured when he receives a blow from Takeshi. He is then knocked off the top of the building and falls into a swimming pool. Since then, his goal has been to get revenge on Ozuno and he needs Mika to stay alive to act as bait. Knowing she can't handle the clan alone, Mika calls Ryan and informs him that she is with Raizo. She tells him that the ninja is also planning to capture Ozuno and asks for the agency's help in accomplishing this mission. The investigator then says he will help them and sets up a meeting point with his partner. However, when they arrives at the agreed location, Mika discovers that everything was just an ambush and Raizo is captured by the agents. The ninja is taken to a former German prison and Mika accuses her partner of betraying her. However, when they are alone, Ryan explains that he was forced to help capture Raizo as he was being threatened. The man trusts Mika and is concerned for her safety. So he hands her a small device, which the woman can use to reveal her location if she is in danger. With Ryan's help, Mika manages to approach Raizo. After giving him some water, she apologizes for what happened and says she didn't know about the trap. He then reveals that Ryan will try to help him escape, but the young man says it is too late. After discovering what is about to happen, Mika rushes to alert her partner and tells him that a group of ninjas are on their way. Suddenly, the lights go out and the woman rushes to free Raizo. Meanwhile, the guards grab their weapons and patrol the place, but are easily eliminated by the invaders. After stealing the keys, Mika enters the cell to open the handcuffs and the young man manages to free himself in time to eliminate the ninja who was about to attack him. While trying to get out of that prison, the pair is attacked and the young man directs Mika to go to the garage and start the car while waiting for him. Suddenly, countless ninjas who were hiding in the shadows reveal themselves and Raizo must fight them all at once, using only one weapon. During the battle, the young man manages to steal the katana of one of his opponents and proves to be skilled with different types of combat instruments. With the help of his sword, he manages to cut his enemies in half and finds a loophole to escape. Meanwhile, Mika manages to reach the vehicle and waits for Raizo so that they can both escape together from that place. What she doesn't realize is that, by now, the young man is seriously injured and has to flee from his enemies, as he knows he has no more strength to fight. As Mika waits patiently, she realizes that someone is approaching and suddenly a ninja attacks her car. Now that her life is at risk, she has no choice but to flee and manages to shoot the man who is trying to eliminate her in the foot. On her way out of the garage, she is surprised by the arrival of new enemies, who will go to any lengths to destroy the vehicle in order to reach her. When she finally manages to get out of the building, Mika has an accident and hits a car parked on the street, but luckily manages to get out unharmed. Meanwhile, Raizo continues to flee and destroys the window pane to reach the street. The young man runs across the highway and is almost run over by the vehicles that are passing at that moment. Still, the members of the Ozuno clan continue to pursue him and, during a duel, Raizo has his abdomen hit by Takeshi's blade, which causes a deep cut in his body. Luckily, just as he was about to be eliminated, Mika shows up and, after running over the ninja, helps his friend escape. Terrified of his injuries, the woman says she will take him to the hospital, but Raizo asks her to keep driving because he knows that if he is hospitalized they will both be found. After the chaos, Ryan calls his partner and asks if the young man is still alive. He promises he will help the investigator and asks her to return to base, but Mika says she will act alone this time. So she stops at a hotel and, after taking a shower to camouflage her smell, the woman thinks of a way to help Raizo recover. Minutes later, Mika comes to the realization that she won't be able to help him on her own, and looking at the device she received from her partner, she has a risky idea. When the woman turns on the tracker, Europol agents are able to trace her and Ryan begins an operation to go after her. Hiding in the hotel garden, Mika spots some ninjas entering her room and, shortly after, the cops show up. The men are armed and ready to face any enemy, but to their surprise, they find the researcher alone. When asked what happened, Mika reveals that Raizo's body was taken away a few minutes ago by members of the Ozuno clan. While on his way to his old home, The young man wakes up and uses the regeneration skills he learned from his master to recover from the injuries he sustained in the last battle. Later, he arrives at the tent of Lord Ozunu, who reveals that he was very disappointed by Raizo's betrayal, as he intended to make him his successor, since the young man was his best apprentice. After being stuck on a stake, the ninja receives a blow to the abdomen and ends up spitting out the tracker that Mika made him swallow. At that moment, war vehicles invade the fortress and the clan is attacked. In the midst of the war zone, Mika takes a risk to free Raizo, for fear that he will be hit by some of the shots. Now that he is released, the young man can finally complete his revenge, and Ryan takes Mika to one of the armored cars to ensure her safety. The man then asks his partner to remain in the vehicle while he helps the soldiers break into the house and eliminate the enemies. However, when they enter the place, the agents are surprised by Takeshi, who applies a surprise blow to manage to defeat them all. He then spots Raizo and orders his colleagues to attack him. However, it is not long before the young man manages to get rid of that group, and Takeshi is the only one left standing to face him. After a few minutes of fighting, the man realizes that he is no match for his opponent and decides to talk about Kiriko's perishment to destabilize him. However, this subject makes Raizo even angrier, and, upon remembering that it was Takeshi who eliminated his best friend, the young man rips off his hand. It then uses his chain to force him to pierce his own neck with the tip of a sickle. After getting his first revenge, Raizo goes after his greatest enemy. When he finds him, the young man tries to attack him, but Ozunu manages to block the blow with his sword. The old man then attacks his apprentice and proves to be even faster than him, as Raizo can barely see him move. As he is already tired from the battle, the young man has impaired reflexes, so he is at a disadvantage compared to his former master. Despite this, Raizo does not give up the battle and is determined to eliminate him even if it costs his life. So, during a fierce sword duel, the young man manages to strike Lord Ozunu's abdomen, just as the old man always did with him, and knock him down with a kick to the head. At that moment, his master gets up and disappears into the darkness. In the next moment, he strikes Raizo with a blow to the back and the young man falls to the ground from the pain. However, just as the old man was about to take the final blow, Mika appears and shoots Ozunu. Her shots are not enough to eliminate him, and the old man uses his super speed to strike her in the back. After having her chest pierced, the woman falls to the ground and Raizo is overcome with despair. Once again, the ninja sees his master eliminate someone for whom he has deep affection. Controlled by an enormous fury, the young man regains his speed and, through precise blows with his katana, manages to cut Lord Ozunu to pieces. Finally, Raizo approaches the old man and buries the sword next to his neck, eliminating him once and for all. The whole camp is on fire when the ninja comes out of the tent with Mika's body in his hands. Soon after, the soldiers approach and Ryan calls a medic to help her. At that moment, the woman starts breathing again and Raizo is relieved to hear that she is alive. When the medical team shows up, the rescuer doesn't understand how the investigator could have survived that attack, so Mika explains that her heart is on the right side of her chest. A few days later, the ninja returns to the Ozuno clan's hideout, which is now completely empty. All his brothers and sisters are eliminated, as is his terrible master. Now that he has accomplished his mission, Raizo gets rid of the gold watch and climbs the fortress wall to get the same view of Kiriko on the day she chose to fight for her freedom. In that instant, for the first time since childhood, the ninja feels at peace. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie reviews.